I waited 14 years for this. 14 years. 14. Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to another new release review. For today, I will be reviewing The Incredibles 2. The Incredibles 2 is the long-awaited sequel to the original 2004 film The Incredibles, and is once again directed by Brad Bird and stars pretty much the same cast and crew except for Dash. That guy is now like in his 20s, so they have another new little 8, 9, 10-year-old kid playing Dash. But other than that, it's still Craig T. Nelson, Holly Hunter, Samuel L. Jackson, along with a few newcomers like Bob Odenkirk and Catherine Keener. This time around, the story actually centers a lot around Elastigirl, because the story plays out as Bob Odenkirk's character is trying to bring supers back into the limelight, because in their world, supers are illegal. It's illegal to be a superhero, so Bob Odenkirk wants to see them back into the spotlight. So he uses Elastigirl to spearhead his operation, make her do a bunch of missions, and try to bring the superheroes back, and in doing so, leaves Mr. Incredible at home with the kids. Yeah. Should get interesting. So guys, I'm just gonna hop right into the positives right off the bat. Again, the cast being the same, you love them in the first one, you love them the same in this one, and especially a lot of the newcomers. They're all fantastic, guys. The voice work in this is phenomenal. I know a lot of people think voice work might be an easy job, but it really isn't, and these guys do a phenomenal job. Next is the animation. Pixar has always been the absolute best at animation, no matter what you think. Don't at me, don't DreamWorks, Disney, anything like that. Pixar, hands down, the best animators out there right now, and they just step it up with every single movie they release. This one is no different. You would notice, if you go back and watch the 2004 Incredibles compared to this one, there are so many finer details in this, and it's phenomenal, honestly. It blows my mind. From things like strands of hair, to fabric on clothing, to just like little windows breaking in the background of buildings. Like, it's phenomenal. The animation blows my mind. And that brings me to my next point, which is the action in this movie is epic. It definitely steps it up from the first movie. It definitely shows that the technology has advanced and they use it in all of its glory. The action sequences in this are breathtaking. I know usually I would use that for a term that's like, you know, visually, and you'd think I'd be talking about a live action movie, but no, in these I was just like, wow. Next is something that I really enjoyed about this movie, and it's something that maybe not a lot of superheroes movies do unless they're trying to do their whole universe building, and sometimes that might get a little sloppy. DC. But in this one, they just kind of ease you into it, and that is having a bigger world with more heroes out there. There's heroes that come back from underground from the time around when it was just Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl all around, but then there's also new heroes from all around the world, and even new heroes in general, and they all have their own unique names, their own unique costumes, their own unique powers. And to me, this world building was definitely necessary, because although I liked the smaller family-oriented story of the first one, this one on expanding the world, it felt not only necessary, but it was just awesome. If it ever third Incredibles comes out, or even beyond that, they can branch out and this can become a whole franchise on its own. And next is the fact that this movie is actually downright hilarious. I was laughing a lot throughout this movie. The crowd was pretty much all people my age, which is 20, or older, and like adults, like people who've been waiting for this just like me for 14 friggin' years, guys. And they were all laughing super hard too. This movie, all of its jokes hit and they were hilarious. And last but certainly not least is the fact that this movie has so much heart. It focuses on the family so much. They feel like a real family. It's just very heartwarming to see the meaning behind this movie. There's so many underlying meanings. There's messages about growing up, and there's messages about how important it is to be family and how you don't need powers to be a hero. Something that's on a middle ground. Again, middle ground isn't positive, it's not negative, it's just something I feel should be addressed, and that is, where's the timeline in this movie? Okay, because they have technology in this that's like advanced for even now in 2018, yet it only takes place like literally like the next day after the first movie, which released in 2004, and I thought it was set in 2004. So if it's actually maybe 2004 was supposed to be now, or the future from now. So was the first Incredibles actually ahead of its time? Still ahead of our time now? I don't know. Something that's never addressed. I guess it doesn't really matter, but something I was just kind of like, huh? And now for the negatives, because like I said, guys, almost every movie has them, and these ones aren't huge gripes, but they are things I think definitely need to be addressed. And number one, right off the top of the list, coming at you very hot, is the villain in this movie, because the villain is not good in this movie, guys. The villain is a completely lackluster, nowhere near the likes of Syndrome from the first one, who is a fantastic villain among even comic book movies today. Like, that's including Marvel and DC and any other villain in any other movie. Syndrome was a great villain. He had a fantastic and actually like good, meaningful ideology of why he was doing these things. He had a great backstory, and he had purpose. This movie's villain doesn't have purpose, doesn't have a backstory, pretty much just is in the movie to be a villain, but even then, the villain just really wasn't that great. And along with that too, I found that like a lot of the twists and turns in the movie, some of them worked, but a lot of them I kind of saw coming, and when a movie's really predictable like that, kind of bothers me, because I'm like, I feel like I should be like, wow, oh my god, that's crazy, but when you just kind of expect them, they don't hit home as hard. And at times the pacing can get a bit choppy, guys. The movie ends up feeling a little bit too long. I think it's about the same length as the first Incredibles. It's only about like 2 hours, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But the first Incredibles movie I can watch over and over again, not get sick of. This one definitely felt like a 2-hour movie at times. Sometimes it spends a little too much time at home with Mr. Incredible. Doesn't really focus enough on the hero stuff, so that kind of gets annoying. But in other times, there's actually a lot more business talk than you would think, and a lot more talk with like world leaders and things like that. So that stuff does make the movie feel a little bit longer than I felt like it should have. And last of the negatives, guys, is the fact that the movie just had a lot of missed opportunities for me. Sometimes I thought a really big action sequence was going to come up, and it didn't. Or maybe it was going to kind of lead somewhere, like, oh, this is kind of an interesting conversation, and then it doesn't, or you know what I mean? Like, there felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities where in my mind I was like, oh, that would have been so cool to see, that would have been very interesting to hear about, I wish this character would have went in this direction instead of that direction, and I just felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities. But all in all, guys, I really enjoyed this movie. I came out of this movie with a big smile on my face. I would love to see a third one, preferably not 14 years down the road when I am 35, but it was definitely a super enjoyable, and trust me, it is not a movie just for kids. Go see it with your kids, or you can just go see it by yourself. This movie will and can be enjoyed by all ages. Please believe me on that. There is something in here for everyone, and you will undoubtedly enjoy it no matter what. To summarize though, guys, the cast is fantastic, the animation is spot on, the best Pixar has ever done, the action sequences are beautiful, expanding the world and showing other heroes that are in this world was probably the best idea this movie had going for it. The movie is supremely funny, a lot funnier than I expected. Everyone of all ages was laughing in my theater, and this movie has great messages about family. The negatives are the villain sucks, pacing is a bit off at times, they focus on things that are pretty boring, that last a lot longer than they should have, and last one of the negatives is missed opportunities where I felt like there should have been a big action sequence here. They should have followed up on this. They should have talked about this a little more, and they didn't. So with all that being said though, guys, the negatives don't really stack up all that much. The positives, they definitely outweigh the negatives. But with that being said, no matter what, I have to put a score on this. So guys, I'm going to be giving The Incredibles 2 an 8 out of 10. As always, guys, if you like this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know, did you see The Incredibles 2 yet? And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap.